Hi guys, welcome back to the JavaScript video series. This is the 19th video in the series, and today we'll be taking a look at a few more details in the JavaScript arrays. So in the last video we covered JavaScript arrays, how to define them and how they work, but today we'll be taking a look at a few more details. And if you're liking this series, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and if you're having any challenges or issues in any of the videos, then you can comment on them and then I'll get back to you with a resolution or a solution. So you can open up your JS Fiddle window as I've done, and we'll be writing some code in the JavaScript tab of the JS Fiddle window. To start off this video, I want to show you an issue that may happen with you sometimes when you're working with arrays. So let me first define an array. You know how to define an array, right? So this is the fruits array. I'll say apple, I'll say banana, I'll say grapes. Right, and you know what happens if I try to output it? I'll be able to see the array, right? Now you know how if I have to add a value towards the end of this array, this is what I do, right? You've seen this in the previous video. So I say lemon, right? So this is how it's working as of now. But sometimes by mistake, if you add a value towards the very end of this array at an index number that does not exist. So right now 3 index numbers exist for this array, right? So 0, 1 and 2. There are 3 values, but no value exists at the 7th index number, for example. But if I do that, if I add a value at the 7th index number of the array, this is what happens. JavaScript adds up unnecessary or empty spaces in between, and then it'll add a value at the 7th index space. So this can create a lot of problems with array operations. So you just need to be mindful of this. So always basically do this instead of trying to predict how many values you have in your array and trying to put those values there with numbers. It's fruit.length. Yeah, so that works. So I hope that's clear. Now we'll look at associative arrays. So you must have worked with, if you're coming from another programming language, then you may have worked with associative arrays, right? So let me also explain it to you if you haven't seen these before. Right, so this is instead of saying where person and 0 and assigning a value or 1 and assigning a value, I am assigning the value for person and first name is equal to Akhil and person and last name is equal to Sharma. Now this is something that works in other programming languages, and this is known as a associative array, where instead of index numbers there are index values, right? So instead of 0 there's first name, instead of 1 there's last name, right? So and you can store these values. Now these work in other programming languages, but this doesn't work in JavaScript. So this is something I wanted to show you because many people coming from Python or any other programming language would be used to something like that, but it doesn't work here in JavaScript. Now let's look at the new keyword. So last time I showed you, let's take the example of the fruits array. So like last time I showed you that you can define an array like this, right? Or you can define an array like this, new array, and then say apple, banana, right? And grapes. Right. Now this was another way to assign an array, right? So let's create an array. So I want to show you an issue with this approach that may happen sometimes. So let's take an array called age, and it'll have 2 values, 10 and 40, right? And we'll show the values like this. So you'll get the array with the values 10 and 40. But if you take the same array, or if you create a new array age and you say 40 here, it will create an array with 40 values, Do you see that issue? Instead of creating an array with one value, which would be 40, because if we were creating an array with two values, 10 and 40, then it was creating an array with two values, 10 and 40. But if you want to create an array with just one value and which is 40, it doesn't do that. It actually creates an array which has 40 values, empty values. So this is something that can create a lot of problems, and it doesn't work. So this is something that I want to point out to you. Right? I hope this makes sense. So basically, the moral of the story is try not to use the new array, method, the new array way of creating an array. Instead of doing this, just do this: 10 and 40 and 50. This is stable. This always works as expected. Now, so I showed you in the last video that if you check the type of an array like age, you get object. So how would you ever know if something is an array, right? How would you ever be able to check the type of the array? So JavaScript does give you something. It's called array.is array. Then you say age. Array.is array, and then you say age, and then you should run it. It says true. That means age is an array. So this is one way you can check if something is an array or not. Or you can do something like this: age instance of array. Okay, so this is checking whether age is an instance of array. So this should give us again the value true, which means that, so I've shown you two ways to check how you can check if age is an array or not. So in this video we have seen how having elements at high indexes can create undefined holes in the array, those empty spaces. Then we have seen how associative arrays don't work in JavaScript. Then we have seen how new array can create some problems. Then we have seen how to check the type of an array. So with this we have covered most of the basics with arrays. In the next video we'll take a look at on how we can loop over the arrays. And in the video after that, then we'll start looking at some array methods that JavaScript gives us. So I hope you're enjoying your lessons on arrays, and these are really important lessons actually. And we'll be using arrays a lot as we go into more advanced topics. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next episode.